Welcome to the Celtics newsfeed. We are CLNS Roundtable. If you listened to our last episode, we had our part 1 show with Keith Smith dissecting the Celtics and Bulls playoff series. Here we have part 2 with Keith.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about defense on Butler, how the Celtics just might throw different guys at him. Bulls have a severe shooting deficit. I think they were like last in like 3-point attempts, and they were near dead last on 3-point accuracy. Obviously, the Celtics are going to perhaps like take a step in against the Bulls. Do you see any other defensive schemes that they might employ, or what wrinkles might they throw at the Bulls?
I think the first one you touched on is definitely true, that they're going to sag off and make them attempt to beat them from the outside, and if that happens, they'll live with it, or they'll adjust to it. I think the other piece is there's going to be 2 other things. I think every time Butler hits the paint, there's going to be multiple players there to meet him at the rim, and I don't think they'll hesitate to foul him. History tells us in the playoffs, the referees call less fouls. They let it be a little more physical, so I think they might get a little more physical with a guy like.
Do you think that's an advantage for the Celtics, that change in playoff refereeing?
I think on the defensive end it is. I think on the offensive end it is not.
Okay.
I worry about IT because he goes to the basket so often. I don't know that he's going to get quite as many calls as he did in the regular season. So that side of it worries me. But defensively, I think they've got a couple guys who they like to bang a little bit in there. Amir likes to put his body on people. Crowder and Smart both like to do it.
It's funny that you mentioned that about IT. It just occurred to me that, oftentimes when he goes in for a layup and there's some contact and it doesn't get called and he'll miss the layup, but he'll sometimes make it. But it's almost like a 4-on-5 at the other end. I just wonder if that's...
Well, in fairness, it's the same way for the Bulls because Dwayne Wade does the same damn thing.
That's true. The rest, too, on the way back.
Keith, what you're saying is Marcus Smart, when driving to the hoop, isn't going to get any cheap foul calls where he flails?
Yeah, well, has he all year?
No, absolutely not.
And you know what? It's funny with Marcus Smart. I actually asked an official about this over the summer at the Orlando Summer League here. So this was before this season. And one of the things I asked, and this is an official who is a regular in the rotation in the NBA, and what the response I got was, when a player like him flops so often, it gives the official pause to ever give them a call. And that's just something he'll eventually, I believe, grow out of, or he'll get that respect where he'll stop doing it just enough that when he does do it, it actually pays benefit. But you're absolutely right on Dwayne Wade. He's been doing that for, 15 years now or so?
Yeah. Can you also ask that referee what Kelly Olynyk has to do to be more vertical and not have a terrible foul call on him?
You know what I've noticed with Olynyk, I think it is he has a very bad habit of he goes vertical, but then at the last second he brings his arms down. And I think that's what kills him every time. I don't think he can help himself but to go for the shot block, or the really big-time contest. And it's if you look at – but let's go back to kind of when Roy Hibbert everybody was like, oh, man, this guy's the verticality master. He never put his arms down. It was always straight up. And that's where I think Olynyk does a good job, like 95% of the way. And then at the last instant, he just brings those arms down to try to do a little more. And that's when you completely lose the chance at the call.
Yeah, and one thing Kelly needs to do, if you're going to foul the guy, actually foul the guy hard. Because I'm sick of these and ones when Kelly swipes down at the last second.
Mm-hmm. So we know, every team wants to do this. They want to put a lot of pressure on Isaiah, get the ball out of his hands. Part of the reason the Celtics brought over Al Horford is the fact that he could either shoot it, put on the floor, make a play in some way. Do you see the Bulls, going at this strategy? Do you think the Celtics are going to be able to respond effectively?
I do, because the Bulls aren't a big trapping team, and it's mostly due to the fact that they really only have one plus defender now, and that's Butler. And even Butler's defense has slipped a bit more because of the massive offensive load he has to carry for them. So without multiple good defenders, probably their next best defender now that Gibson is gone is probably Robin Lopez. So I don't know that they're going to be quite as effective with that. And I think what you'll see Isaiah Thomas do is be that split second quicker this year to give the ball up, I've noticed that in those handful of regular season games where teams have made it an effort to try and trap him, he's that much quicker to do it. The other thing that the Celtics do this year that they hadn't done the first 2 years with IT is I think they've learned and figured him out is they play him off the ball then a lot more. And when you have 5 guys in the lineup, as Boston generally does, that can really pass the ball, you can get away with that. And that really helps. And Al Horford sets amazing screens in addition to being, a really good ball handler and passer from one of the big spots. So when teams are, we're not going to let Thomas beat us off the bounce, then the Celtics kind of said, okay, well, then we'll just start playing him off the ball then. And it makes everything different. One other key thing that I noticed that Boston does is they really spread the floor better this year than they ever have, which makes it that much harder to trap. Because when you're going to send traps from that much further away, in addition to having 5 good passers on the floor for the Celtics, it becomes a really risky proposition. And we've all seen what IT can do when he can kind of get that head of steam and go downhill to the hoop. He's almost impossible to stop. So that has helped the offense quite a bit too. If you watch with Horford, they start a lot of those pick and rolls out closer to the logo at the half court circle than they do near the 3-point line, which is a change from previous seasons.
Yeah, subbing out Sullinger with Horford is huge. And also Amir Johnson, the 3-point shooter, is a huge benefit. So they have 5 guys.
As long as you have the 10 seconds of the shot clock to give him to get it off.
Well, they still don't respect him, so he gets those 10 seconds. But
the Bulls still have nightmares about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was the Bulls where Amir –
I think 4 threes, yeah. Each one more ridiculous than the last.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Jay's postseason this year. He seems healthy, which he wasn't last year. He hasn't been for a lot of his tenure as a Celtic. And he seems like he's got a little extra pep in his step where he's getting to the rim more. I think he's had more dunks in the past month than he's had the whole season. So I'm excited for him not only hitting the 3, which he's kind of expanded his game this year, but also getting into the paint. I think that'll be huge. Because like Keith said, there's not many good defenders on this team. So I think the Celtics can also fall into a trap of shooting too many threes where there's going to be lanes and they got to take advantage of them sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, health is probably the biggest difference between this year heading into the playoffs and last year. And obviously the personnel should be upgraded too. So I think we'll see a much better Celtics squad in this playoffs. And I think we'll have a much better showing.
Yeah, it's the talent level on the roster. It's funny. I mean, they're largely the same group. You mentioned Sullinger. The change out is Horford in for him. And then it's a lot of the guys who were here previous, and then Jaylen Brown in for Evan Turner. And Horford is such an upgrade over everything they got from Sullinger, just from the standpoint of he's not a standstill jump shooter. He can do ultimate, or infinite is the word I'm looking for, infinite more things than Sullinger can do out on the perimeter. Outside of just stand there and launch, long jump shots. So that's going to be massive for Boston to be able to do different things, right? And you each named 2 different guys, and I just named Horford. It's kind of nice going to the playoffs with, wow, it's not just IT. And then really the last 2 seasons was, all right, if Thomas isn't getting it going, it's going to have to be Evan Turner who does it because he was really the only other option.
All right, the playoffs are here. And if you want to get tickets to Celtics playoff games, be sure to download the SeatGeek ticketing app, which is the easiest way to buy and sell tickets to Celtics games. With just 2 taps using SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, in mere seconds, you can buy and sell tickets. And it doesn't end with the Celtics or any other NBA game. SeatGeek also has plenty of concert, comedy, and theater tickets available too, and it's all fully guaranteed. Listeners to CLNS Radio can support this production and get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. Here's how. Download the free SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, and click add a promo code and enter promo code CELTSNEWS. All one word. And SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter the promo code CELTSNEWS today.
All right, last question before we let you go here, Keith. What is the biggest key, you think, to this series that we haven't yet talked about? I'll let you take it away.
For me, it's going to be that the Celtics do hold their own, if not win the rebounding battle. And I know I talked before about when the game after Gibson was traded, they were able to win that one, but that was only one game. That is the single biggest piece that can help the Bulls. When a bad offensive team can get second possessions, they're only going to shoot so poorly. So if they miss, multiple shots, but every time they're getting 2 and 3 looks at it, they're ultimately going to get baskets. So if the Celtics can keep the Bulls off the boards, I have no worries at all that they're going to succeed defensively, and then that'll turn into good offense for the Celtics, and that should be hopefully the difference in this series from the early games to what we saw the last time around.
Where can we find you on the interwebs, Keith?
Yeah, best place to find me is on Twitter, at Keith Smith, NBA. I'm really active on there, especially during Celtics games, but throughout the entire playoffs, I'll be very active on through Twitter. I like to do a lot of back and forth, so if you have questions, please ask and hit me up on there. Beyond that, you can find my written work at realgm.com. I cover the league as a whole for them, a lot of roster, conversation, salary cap type items. And then for Celtics-specific coverage, Celtics blog, and that is the best places you can find me for now. And, looking forward to the playoffs, so hopefully the Celtics can make a good long run.
All right.
Yeah, best place to find me is on Twitter, at Keith Smith, NBA. I'm really active on there, especially during Celtics games, but throughout the entire playoffs, I'll be very active on through Twitter. I like to do a lot of back and forth, so if you have questions, please ask and hit me up on there. Beyond that, you can find my written work at realgm.com. I cover the league as a whole for them, a lot of roster, conversation, salary cap type items. And then for Celtics-specific coverage, Celtics blog, and that is the best places you can find me for now. And, looking forward to the playoffs, so hopefully the Celtics can make a good long run.
All right, that'll do it for us here at Celtics Roundtable, part of the CLNS Radio Network. We want to thank our guest, Keith Smith from Real GM and Celtics blog, for sitting down with us these past couple days. We'll be back on Monday, but in the meantime, why don't you go check out on CLNS Radio where Sean Yabusele, who sat down with Corey Prescott for an interview, the Dancing Bear and Corey Prescott making some podcasting magic. We'll be back on Monday.